In today's video, we're going to see fast, step-by-step directions on what I believe is the easiest way to grow sweet potatoes. So you can end up with a big pile of sweet potatoes when it's harvest time, right after the channel intro.
Shots fired! Shots fired! Shots fired! Ambulance en route.
So I know that a popular way to grow sweet potatoes is to put a sweet potato into a jar of water and let it grow slips and then eventually transplant those slips. But I have never had luck with that. Every time I have tried that, no matter what I did, I always failed miserably. So if you've had trouble like me, here are step-by-step directions on what I believe to be the absolute easiest way to get yourself a good harvest of sweet potatoes. So the first thing to do is, in the fall time, buy yourself a handful of organic sweet potatoes from some kind of a natural food store. You want organic sweet potatoes because non-organic ones may have been treated with chemicals to keep them from producing slips while they sit on the grocery store shelves. And you definitely want potatoes that will produce slips for this method that I'm going to show you. And if it helps, I will use 5 sweet potatoes for my small 5 foot by 3 foot raised garden bed. And then next, you're going to take those organic sweet potatoes that you bought and put them up in a cabinet or someplace else where they will sit in a dark and cool place for most of the winter. And then once it's winter, and while it's cold and snowy outside, just let them sit up there and forget about them. And then when it gets just about a month before planting time, go ahead and take those sweet potatoes out of that cabinet, and then you will probably notice that they have started growing slips off of them. And then what you're going to do now is you're going to go ahead and put them in a jar of water by using toothpicks so that only the bottom half of the sweet potato is submerged in that water. And now just simply put them on a sunny window ledge in your house. The more sun and the warmer the area, the better. And you're just going to let them sit there on the window ledge and let those slips grow larger until it's ready to plant. And then once it's springtime and the danger of any frosts are over with in my area, I'm just going to simply plant them in the soil now. And I'm just going to plant the whole sweet potato under the soil so that only the slips are just poking out of the dirt. Now I use raised garden beds to plant my vegetables in because I have cruddy dirt in my backyard. And I don't want to get into garden soil and get off topic in this video, but if you have the typical subdivision yard and dirt, then you may want to look into raised garden beds yourself. But with the previous failures that I had with trying to transplant only the slips from sweet potatoes, I was very happy with how my experiment worked. And I was also very happy to see how well my sweet potato vines took off. So after I let them grow all summer long, I just waited until just before the first frost to dig them up. The first thing that I did was I cut away the vines so I could see where to dig at for the sweet potatoes. And then when I first started digging them up, I found that the original sweet potatoes that I had planted had taken root and had also produced new sweet potatoes. And I also found that their vines had even replanted themselves and made new sweet potatoes. And I was very happy to find that this method had given me a very awesome harvest for my very first successful harvest of tubers. And as you can see here, my young son had a lot of fun digging these potatoes up with me.
Whoa, look at this one!
That's a big one!
Oh, look at this one!
Wow!
So anyways, those 5 organic store-bought sweet potatoes that I started off with, I was able to turn those into almost 30 pounds of new sweet potatoes that you see here. And before you eat the sweet potatoes that you grow and harvest, they need to be cured first in order to get that sweet taste. And while a warm and humid environment cures sweet potatoes in the shortest amount of time, I live in a cooler climate. So I just simply place them in a spare bedroom for about a month and they seem to cure just fine and they taste great. And then all you have to do is just save a handful of those sweet potatoes that you had just grew and harvested and just repeat the process. You throw them into a dark and cool place, let them produce slips over the winter, then put them into a jar of water about a month before you plant, and then plant the whole sweet potato when the planting time comes. Now there's much superior methods out there that will produce even better harvests than what I showed here, but please know that I am not an expert. I'm just sharing what I think is the absolute easiest and foolproof way to do this. And if you'd like to learn how to make homemade yeast completely from scratch, how to cultivate your own wild yeast and make bread with it, then click on the video link that should be appearing at the top right of the screen just about now to learn more about that. And if you'd like to learn how you can tap a maple tree to make your own old-fashioned homemade maple syrup, even if this maple tree is in your own front yard, then click on the video that should be appearing on the right side of the screen just about now. Anyways folks, if you made it this far, hey, thank you very much for watching, and I pray that you have a good night.